What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. So Argentina and Scotland have finished their second game of their tour for the July internationals, and it means that it actually ends up being a clean sweep this week for the Northern Hemisphere teams going over to the Southern Hemisphere. So we had all of the Southern Hemisphere week 1, all of the Northern Hemisphere week 2, which means every game next week going to be super exciting to watch. Every team's going to be playing that extra bit tough. Now, this game was a very weird game because the final scoreboard looks a little bit bizarre. It looks like Scotland absolutely blew Argentina out the water, and it wasn't really the story of the game, at least for the first half anyway. The first half we'll start off with, as we've done for the other match reports so far this weekend. It actually began to feel like it was going to end up a bit like the Wales-South Africa game, very slow in that first half. The first score coming very early on, Scotland having a scrum and actually driving the Argentinian scrum back. It was one of the areas they didn't look particularly comfortable playing Argentina in, was that scrum area last week. So nice to see them manage to get a nice drive on the Argentina scrum. They went 3-0 up within the first 2 minutes. Argentina immediately came back. There was a bit of a weird neck roll, absolutely not necessary, in Scotland's own 22, which Buffelli did manage to kick over, taking them to 3-3. And this is only 5 minutes in, and for the rest of the half, scoring was pretty hard to come by. Now, one of the key areas of this game was the amount of wind going on over in Argentina. Lovely day out there, but in terms of wind, very, very strong wind was really beginning to mess a lot of people up. Ball was flying incredibly far when they were kicking it, but one of the areas that was getting impacted the most was the line-out. It affected Scotland first in the 8th minute when a line-out was thrown not straight. It affected Argentina only 5 minutes later with their line-outs not being straight. Both teams really struggling to get their set-piece working, which of course just slows down the momentum for both teams. You haven't got that platform to launch from. Did really begin to impact them. In the 15th minute, we got to see Argentina have their first real attack of the game. There was some sporadic moments here and there, but Argentina actually putting some phases together was really nice. Every single carry was making yards. This Argentina team is so aggressive, especially with the second drive. It's something that you don't really get to see an awful lot in terms of international rugby. The second pump leg driver, one tackler smashing his way in, and then having a bolstering support teammate come up behind them and actually carry that second leg drive forward along with the first player actually doing that extra drive. Really nice to see. Making ground with every carry. The centres, the forwards, doesn't matter who. They are making ground through that Scotland defence, but they are managing to just hold out that Scotland defence. Eventually, there was a lovely little offload that went out to De La Fuente, managing to run. I thought for all intents and purposes it was going to be a try, but a lovely tackle from Duhan van der Merwe, keeping that defensive game we saw last week from him at a really high level. Really nice to see, managing to save Scotland. There was a few penalties here and there, moving the teams up and down the field. One of the areas that Scotland was doing extremely well in this game was a good bit of game management. They obviously knew wind was becoming a big factor in this game, so one thing they actually moved towards doing was an awful lot of extremely high kicks, which was a really good call, coming both from Ben White and from Kinghorn, going for those really high up and unders, having people actually chase the ball to a really good level. Mark Bennett and Darcy Graham chased that ball down all day long at a really high speed, high intensity, and what it meant is the high winds that were actually going on, when the ball kicked high, it was landing down on the Argentinian players, trying to judge where it was going to go, and quite a lot of the time the actual backfield of that Argentina team was really struggling to gauge where the ball was going to bounce. It would bounce over them, go short, it might get a knock on, so they were actually able to move up the field, because it was, which I think really needed, because the Argentina defence in this game was absolutely ferocious. They actually did an extremely good job. When we get around to the full-time result, the scoreline really doesn't reflect how well Argentina actually played in this game. One of the things I actually wrote down here was just how well Argentina were managing to cope with the Scotland attack ball in hand. They've obviously done an awful lot of research. The coaching staff did very well before this game. Every single set play that Scotland were doing, Argentina seemed to know exactly who that ball was going to. And as soon as the ball went out to Kinghorn, he had 3 options. One Argentina tackler lined up one player out of the 3, and that was the exact person the ball was going to. A lot of background work done there. Really nice to see. Argentina just absolutely clinical in terms of defence in this game. It was really nice to see from them. As we move towards the half-hour mark, we do begin to see the game open up a little bit. There was a nice little up and under, actually caught by Darcy Graham. Really nice way to make a good 50 metres. And then just because it's Darcy Graham, he goes and makes an extra 30, running down a little bit of ground, making a bit of extra room. Did get a pass out to Van der Merwe, I've got written down there, who looked like he was going to go into the corner. But again, the Argentina defence, having 3 players, they didn't bite into any of the dummy runners. The ball could have been held a little bit by Mark Bennett. That was one thing that was getting to me a little bit. Mark Bennett not taking the ball to the line. He was certainly staying a good 5-6 feet away, giving the early pass, but it just meant the tacklers were able to drift across and did barrel Duhan van der Merwe into touch. Not an easy ask, but they did manage to do it pretty well. Towards the half-hour mark, Argentina got back on the attack, actually kept the ball in hand, went through some phases, making a bit of ground, which was really nice, forcing that Scotland defence back. Scotland defence this week seemed much better, far less penalties given away in terms of that defensive setup, but there was still the occasional penalty. This one coming in here, which was just Scotland on a scramble defence. Scotland then got done for a high tackle, which I do agree with, to be honest. It was pretty high. So Argentina took the 3 points there, got it over, takes them to 6-3 with only 10 minutes left. It took Scotland a little bit of a while to come back. In the 36th minute, we get to see Scotland have a penalty, Argentina offside. That was one of the things Scotland doing so well. So the speed the ball was being recycled, mixed with how fast Argentina were getting off the line in terms of that blitz defence. Just occasionally, a couple of people getting found offside, and it was just allowing Scotland to move up. They weren't able to just take that extra step back, just to allow Scotland to not have those easy penalties. Got done for an offside, and then Scotland went for a kick to the corner. This was a really big call at this point. They were 3 points down. There was only 5 minutes left of the half. They decided to go for the corner. Big call. They felt the confidence to go for that driving maul. The line out wasn't working well at this point, by the way, as well. Really big call to go for this. They went for the line out. Did work well this time. Went for the driving maul. The Argentina team managed to stop the driving maul pretty well. Pick and goes, and of course the man that got over there, Hamish Watson. Now that's a person you want picking up the ball from 2 metres out to just dab it down. Absolutely brilliant. Kinghorn did miss that one. There might be his first miss of the tournament so far. I can't remember how he missed. I think he had a good kicking ratio last week. So Scotland went in at half-time, 8-6 up. And that's what I mean. It sort of felt a little bit like the Wales-South Africa game. Low scoring, a lot of penalties going on, both teams sort of moving their way up the field, trying to feel each other out. But the second half is where this game just started to unload a bit. So at half-time, some of the notes that I wrote down, Scotland look in control. The game plan for kicking and phase play is absolutely correct. They're getting it all done. It was just the last 10% not getting right. The early pass, a couple of handling errors, still letting them down. Just not getting that last little bit that they just need, and there could have been scores in this half. Like I said, that early pass from Mark Bennett out to Duhan van der Merwe, if you just take it to the line, it's one less defender. Just getting that last 10% correct. Still not, just quite got it down. Scotland actually seem in charge of the scrums. As so far I haven't mentioned Argentina really dominating any scrums, which is, one of the areas Argentina is so capable in. Handling errors letting Scotland down. Argentina are winning the line-out battle at this point. They are taking charge of that. The defence is really good, forcing Scotland into those errors in that last 10%. Just the speed that they're running at the Scotland players, making them make those early calls. The Argentinian attack is also really good. It just need to have more possession. That was one thing coming from Argentina, just giving it away a little bit too easily. Although they were making these nice 5-6 phases of play, they were just trying a little bit too expansive, trying to go for these miracle passes, over the ball passes. There was one basketball pass that came in as well. Just take it through the phases. They were working well in the phase play. They were making ground. They just need to hold on to it a bit more. Into the second half, then, we really did not have to wait long for the first score. Mark Bennett going over just 2 minutes into the second half. Really nice. Scotland in full flow, getting that last 10% absolutely correct. That's what we wanted to see from that first half. Just working together. Gregor Townsend and the team clearly had a big talk with them at that half-time, managing to arrange their team a little bit. The Scotland attack taking them all the way up to the Argentinian try line. The defence just holding out, but a beautiful pass from White, just on a flat ball pass, gets it to Mark Bennett, running on a beautiful line straight under the post, and then that was also converted by Kinghorn. The next 10 minutes or so, Argentina began to hit back, really getting their attack down, playing under a lot of advantages, the ball spreading wide. Issa making lovely ground down the wing. I really thought this was going to potentially turn into their first try of the game. There was an offload to Guido Petty, who, for a lock, is just rapid. Actually ran around Duhan van der Merwe at full flight and got himself over the try line, managing to dot it down for a try. Thought an absolutely brilliant try from them. They looked like they deserved it. However, the try was disallowed because earlier they went back and looked at, there was a forward pass, and it did look forward in live play. I did think it looked forward, but I thought the referee had maybe missed it. And the try was great, don't get me wrong, the try was absolutely brilliant, but it did get disallowed, which was a shame for them. Kyle Rowe then went off with an injury, which is a shame. I don't know a lot about him. I was looking forward to see a bit from him in this test series. He'd only been on for a few minutes. He came on, I think at the half-time whistle. He'd only been on for sort of 6-7 minutes at this point. Did go off a knee injury, jumping over Guido Petty after he scored that non-try, and sort of blew his knee out. So it's a bit of a shame for him not to have seen a bit more from him. Scotland had a bit of a bounce back, though, just a few minutes later when there was a yellow card for Buffelli. 3 offside penalties in a row on their own 5-metre line. Someone's got to go to the bin, and Buffelli was unfortunately the one who fell prey to that. This time, they didn't just take the 3 points or go for the corner. They actually went for the scrum. Scotland obviously began to feel confident in that scrummaging ability. They definitely looked like they were more in charge of it this week. They got the penalty, went for the scrum. White carried it from the back of the scrum, took it all the way to the line, got that little pass off, and then, of course, Matt Ferguson, the big ball carrier, going over for the try. And this was where Ross Thompson actually began to take over. Now, this is where Ross Thompson came on. I think he was meant to come on for Blair Kinghorn, but did come on because Kyle Rowe came on. So they had to do a bit of a switch up here, taking over the kicking duties. Not really sure why. They obviously wanted to get him a bit of test play, probably playing that fly half, even though Kinghorn was still on the pitch. So got him over, but nice kick from him. So that did take Scotland 22-6 in the lead, just sort of 15 minutes into that second half. Argentina's discipline not really being able to hold out now. There were certainly a couple of moments where they looked like they were beginning to do okay. We saw Carreras going through on a beautiful little break again. They were just finding these little pockets of room in that Scotland defence, and it led to 30, 40 metres, but the scramble defence from Scotland was actually quite good in this game. They were managing to cover pretty well. Scotland got a penalty in the next scrum. This was actually an Argentinian scrum, and Scotland managed to win it against the head on their own 5-metre line. Huge pressure, huge confidence, massive blow for Argentina. Felt a bit sorry for them at this point. Scotland really beginning to get that energy. Really nice to see. This was sort of the same energy we saw a bit in the Six Nations. Some of their wins they've had, teams like England managing to beat them in Twickenham. We saw that last year, and they just had that high energy and that high confidence. We haven't really seen it a lot more recently. We didn't see it last week, but this game it really felt like they felt in control, which was so nice to see. The Scotland penalty again, Argentina offside. Scotland breakdown improved dramatically, which they then did kick to a line out. They were just winning penalties in terms of that breakdown as well. Went for the driving maul this time. The driving maul looked pretty good, to be fair. Argentina are able to deal with it. Argentina are a hard team to face in terms of their forward battles, but there was a great little line break from Sam Johnson, which came from a nice little flat pass coming out to him, got over for another try there in the 64th minute, converted also by Thompson, taking them to that 29 points to 6 lead. It looked at this point, Scotland had already just sort of sealed out the game with that last score. So Argentina just went all out and went on a full offensive. Now, the last 10 minutes realistically is just Argentina. They played absolutely brilliant in these last 10 minutes. They actually got over the try line a couple of times, and just getting held up. Argentina back on the offensive. There was a tap and go. They actually survived a period of 8 phases on these pick and goes. Argentina spread wide, went out to Orlando, and there was an unbelievable tackle there coming in from Kinghorn, managing to stop that try that was definitely coming. Just some of the defence from Scotland was absolutely cutthroat. They managed to hold out right at those last man tackles. It was absolutely brilliant. In the final 5 minutes, Argentina did also get another penalty. Duan van der Merwe not releasing the player on the ball. Argentina kicked to the 5 metres. They went for the driving maul and was actually really successfully stopped by Scotland. Argentina had to break away, started going through those phases, slowly creeping up to that Scotland try line again. They spread it a bit wide. Buffelli had come back on the pitch at this point, spread the ball wide. He hit the gap, gets himself over the try line, and lo and behold, someone managed to get an arm in, disrupt the ball as he went to place it down. Knock on, no try given, really harsh for them. There was a couple of those in those moments. They had about 2 or 3 where it actually looked like there was just a try coming, and this Scotland defence right down to the last man, absolutely on it. Their defence coach will be going absolutely berserk from that game. He'll be so happy with how it turned out. And then finally, in those final couple of minutes, we get to see some of the areas I haven't really mentioned this game, the jackal and turnover discipline coming from Scotland here. There was a Scotland penalty in the 78th minute. Matt Ferguson, jackal, shut down a 3-minute full-on assault from Argentina. Really nice to see. And then in the 80th minute, Darge getting his own jackal penalty as well. And that was the penalty that allowed Scotland to seal out the game. 29 points to 6 in the end. Now, in fact, all 3 of them, Watson and Ferguson and Darge, all 3 of them all game were doing absolutely brilliantly in terms of that breakdown. They were absolutely on it. The jackal rates, just the turnover rates, they were an absolute nightmare. Argentina wanted to play that ball fast, and all 3 of them dotted around the pitch. It was very good team management from Gregor Townsend to have all 3 of them on at the same time. It really looked like good coverage across the game. In terms of notes at the end of the game then, I just said much better from Scotland. Fantastic game management, taking the test seriously, dominant in the scrums. Defence was absolutely great and brilliant in the breakdown from those three players, as mentioned. Line out still not the best from Scotland. Again, the wind beginning to affect it, but even after they made the swap at hooker, the line outs still weren't particularly settled. There was a couple of issues with just not throwing straight, or even throwing to the front man, not throwing straight. So they will be one of the areas they'll want to work on going into this third test. Argentina certainly looked more in control in terms of that line out. From an Argentinian perspective, I can see this game feeling real harsh. The scoreline doesn't reflect how well Argentina played in this game. The defence looked really solid for huge parts of that game. The way they'd organised the defence was really, top quality level. They were really picking the players out well that Scotland were going through with the set plays and stuff. They also had really good attack. They must have had 2 or 3 tries disallowed. That final scoreline, if you score 3 tries, you win. It's just those final moments that just came from the Scotland defence. It's all Scotland defence. It's nothing bad on the Argentina attack. It was the Scotland defence that actually stopped those ones coming in. I could have easily seen Argentina taking this game had they just landed those moments. So Scotland should be incredibly happy with how that defence held up. But there we have it, guys. That is going to be the match report for today. It was really hard to do them all in one day yesterday, so that's why this one's coming a day later. I have already done all the ones for the New Zealand, Ireland, Australia, England, and South Africa versus Wales match reports, so you can go see them on the channel as well. And if you've enjoyed this one today, remember to leave it a like. And if you're not already, consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always unsubscribe later if you really want to. Why would you want to? The content's absolutely amazing on this channel. But I hope you've all enjoyed today, guys. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.